first found ACOTAR, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't prepared till now. Rereading this book was like being a passenger in a car, the first time around anyway. And I knew how to get from point A to point B, but when I finally read it the second go round, finally taking the wheel of that car, I finally was able to experience it. Then again, a lot has changed in the past 9 years. This book is a testament to that. Look at this poor thing. I get it. I get why this book has such a cult following.
Just check this out. How many people actually showed up to her midnight release party last week? It's like Taylor Swift went somewhere. Please welcome Sarah J. Maas.
It has everything I wanted from a fantasy novel! Rich lore, handsome lads.
Oh no, he's hot!
Action-packed adventure. Some nods to Greek mythology and the classic Beauty and the Beast French tale. It had smut. And some badass women. Apart from Alice. Girl, the only thing you got going for you is the protection you have over your nephews. All the book needed was a little bit of rainbow sprinkles up in there to make it all a whole ass dessert. Except it reads like a fever dream. ACOTAR, more like a court of temperaments and rivalries. Book drop. This is the part of the video that you come back to after you read the first book. Have you read the first book? You sure? Good. Now let's nibble down on this cracked out tale like Tamlin nibbles down on Feyre. I think the world of Prythian is supposed to come across like a fever dream, which is why I had difficulty remembering the contents of the book the first go round. All I remember the first go round is that Feyre killed a fairy, which is a magical being like an elf. She killed the fairy in wolf's clothing in the woods. Oh, and don't worry, he wasn't a werewolf. It didn't have that cringy alpha mate trope that they're like, oh, we're destined, we're bound to each other. It didn't have that. Did it? No. There are different courts, all specializing in different seasons and states of nature, and evil one is the Night Court. The Fey realm has a wall that divides the mundane from the Fey magic, the magical people. Going into this book, I remembered two things. I don't like Tamlin for some reason, and Rhysand isn't what he seems. Also, I've been reading his name wrong the whole entire book. It's Rhysand and not Rhysand. And I'm going to keep calling him Rhysand. That's what's in my head. So, fuck you, pronunciation guy. That's at the end of the book. Okay. Oh, no boy. Did I hold on to those fragments of knowledge for dear life. Because I felt gaslit the entire book. Stockholm Syndrome at its finest, ladies and gentle souls. And I think I drank some fairy wine the first time I drank this book. Drank this book right up. Cause I barely remembered shit. It was like picking off flowers. I like Tamlin. I like him not. I like Tamlin. I like him not. The dude has love bombing down to a T. T for Tamlin. Tamlin loves to love bomb. And he goes through all the phases to get what he wants, to reverse the curse. Idealization stage. Rags to riches for her family, which fulfills Feyre's promise to her mother. Painting, the gallery, and then comes the claws, lashing, but commanding her the illusion of autonomy. You can leave as you please. But in the same breath, pointedly questions her for simply walking around the manor.
You know, and I'm not judging you, but I'm just saying everybody else is gonna.
The isolation. That point was abundantly clear to me during the section when Feyre was trying to teach herself how to read and write. Instead of Tamlin helping her how to read, like teaching her how to read and write for herself to make her own letters, he offers to do it for her. Controlling communication with loved ones is a serious red flag to me. I mean, if kidnapping wasn't already a red herring. The Fire Night had been a pivotal point for me to realize all of Tamlin's faults. That portion of the book had sparked their romance and sparked my rage. You can't get mad at someone for not abiding by your wishes and then not explicitly explain yourself and communicate well what you're thinking, what the reasoning is. You know, all he had to say was, "This ceremony is a gangbang." And that would be sufficient enough to lock yourself in a room and never fucking come out again.
This girl is the nastiest skank bitch I've ever met.
Her curiosity is not a reflection of stupidity. She's not stupid. The Supreme Court just sucks at explaining things until it's too late. Tamlin isn't the only one at fault here. And untimely explanations, or lack thereof. I literally chuckled out loud when Alice mentioned the curse, preventing everyone from revealing all the big secret of the nature of it. And yet, he was still under the curse the time she herself was informing Feyre of all the details of the curse. Then she had the balls to call Feyre stupid. Like, I grow weary of the book's consistent Feyre slander for the amount of belittling this poor woman had to endure.
True.
I felt Feyre's passion for painting. I felt the allure of Prythian fashioned through the eyes of Feyre. I felt her frustrations as she tried to write for her family despite never being taught to read and write. I felt the burden of responsibility she carried to keep her family alive. And she's lonely, and that's alluded multiple times throughout the book. She feels like her sisters love each other more than they love her. Of course, she later finds out that they showed love differently than she does. But she had to discover the truth that Nesta did indeed search for her despite the glamour. Feyre taught herself so many different skills, swimming, hunting, because she wasn't given the opportunity to learn those from a mentor. I think that's why the constant insults from the fairies bother me so much. She's a far cry from weak. In fact, she's one of the strongest characters in the book. Her sense of loneliness is what makes her so strong. It's what keeps the embers of love alive. When she stayed with the dying fairy, wings torn asunder, despite her reservations, she didn't want to see anyone die alone. Felt for Feyre deeply with her motives that were so strong, despite landing in hot water multiple times.
My friends are getting refreshments.
Sarah J. Maas did an excellent job with telling the story through Feyre's perspective, wonderfully unfolding the world of the Fae as she learned it. The only section when the lore building was not fluid was when Feyre came back to the manor in shambles, only to find Alice ransacking through the cabinets, ransacking my patience as well, lore dumping Amarantha and the curse, and I was forgiving at that point because I was so invested in the story and its characters. I must admit, I'm a sucker for a love triangle. I could sniff that trope from a mile away too. The first time Rhysand is introduced, Feyre said he was the most handsome man she has ever seen in her entire life. I smelled that shit strong. Oh, not to mention the irony that she thought that in the midst of a gangbang. As soon as she received the magical tattoo from Rhysand and they could feel each other through that bond, game over, sisters, game over, and brothers, game over. It smells like in game. Anyways, I'm on the fence about Rhysand, really. Don't think that's a really popular opinion from what I've seen. But it's hard for me to think he's worth it. When Feyre was alone in the prison, he essentially called her his property. I was not okay with that shit. And at the end of the day, I got my girl's interest best at heart. But I digress. With other books, I'm sure there's more proof that says the otherwise later that I don't see in these books right now. There are those who seek me in life, but never we meet. And those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, and I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. Large and my mistresses are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. Though each of my strikes land a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. That was the riddle. The riddle. Love is poison, and love is the cure. I think that's the riddle and the through line throughout the book. And the riddle at the end of the book shadows that purpose. Love is poison. Tamlin's love is often suffocating, potent to the point of affecting himself and those around him negatively. I don't think the curse helped matters either, and it was practically a pressure cooker in that manner. Love is the cure. Despite love being the literal word that breaks the curse, it's the driving force for Feyre throughout the entire book. Love for her family, and her people, and Lanner Tamlin that keeps her relentlessly fighting. And I dare say Fairy's the like. Although I am not a Tamlin stan, I do think he demonstrated that fairies aren't always what they seem, and demonstrated that to Feyre. And her original perception of fairies were inaccurate. And like Feyre, my perception of ACOTAR has changed from the first time I picked up this book. And I can say that with my whole chest. I enjoyed every second of the second read through. Every second of the second read through. Better than the first. And I think that caught more of the nuances and the jokes the second go round. I was able to appreciate Feyre a little bit more as someone now 26 rather than 16 reading the book. Hell, she crusty like my insides. And 26-year-old me proves this book. However, memes certainly elevate this book to a next level.
What? How dare you ask me that?
And much like the cereal, I too predict the future. My future in this video. Stay with the High Lord of the Bears Court, yours truly, by sticking around with this channel. See you later.